Good evening, good evening. Once again, viewers, welcome to your program. As we mentioned last week, we'll be back again on this day on Sunday. So welcome back to your program, to this segment, your law, your law, the law and your marriage, the law and your marriage. Last week, we touched on the civil law in terms of what the civil law requires in your marriage. And today we're going to be talking to Mr. Deme again. Once again, we are back, and Mr. Deme, welcome.
Thank you, Pastor Eddie. Good to see you once again.
So today, what have you brought us?
Yeah, obviously we are still talking about marriage and the law. Right. It's a very broad subject, granted. And today we are going to look at one of the types of marriage, which is the registered customary law marriage.
Registered customary law marriage. Registered customary law. Can you please just take me briefly on the registered, the customary part of it?
Yeah, thank you. You recall from last week we spoke about the civil law marriage.
Yes.
Which is a registered marriage, but which is under what we call general law.
Okay, yes,
and
we did.
We also indicated that that type of marriage is a monogamous in nature, which means one man, one woman.
Okay.
Now, when we are looking at the registered customary law marriage, it's registered, but it's contracted or it's entered into under the customary law of the community that we are, or the parties to the marriage are coming from.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's coming from within the community.
Yes, it comes from the law. The customary law is when we are talking of customary law, we are saying it's the law of the community or the customs of the particular community. How they marry. Different communities have got different ways of marrying. But the underlying issue would be that the marriage, after being contracted per the custom, ought to be registered.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully, I'm not too ahead of you. Now, talk to us about, the potentially polygamous part of it.
Yeah.
Because since it's a customary law that is to do with the community.
That's correct.
Obviously, we are outside the church now.
We are outside the church. We are outside Hinduism. We are outside Judaism. We are outside Islam.
Any religion.
We are also outside the European laws or customs. Because when we are talking of this type of marriage,
yes,
as we shall see, it's not everyone who can enter into it.
Okay.
Yes. There are restrictions as to who can enter into it.
All right.
It's only for the Africans.
All right.
Those are the people who can enter into this type of marriage. And as you indicated, it's potentially polygamous, which means that there is potential or there is allowance.
All right.
Or there is a propensity, perhaps, for the men to that marriage to marry more wives, as it were.
Okay.
So it's not a requirement per se that the men should marry more than one wife, but it's potentially polygamous, which means it does not restrict someone who is marrying, or a man who is marrying under this type of marriage, to marry number 2, number 3, number 4, until, I don't know, number 1.
Customary law.
Under customary law.
Okay. Now, let's begin with the registered customary law marriage. What's involved in this marriage?
There are quite a number of things that are involved. To begin with, we are looking also at the age of the persons who are entering into this marriage.
All right.
Remember last week we indicated that the Act has come in to stamp out child marriages, which means the starting point is that the parties to this marriage ought to be 18 years and above.
So it's the customary law, just to cut you short there, the customary law does not remove, what do you call this, the laws of the nation. The customary law must play within the laws of the nation.
That's correct.
For example, the 18 years, requirement.
Yes, it must conform.
It does not play outside that.
It does not play outside.
Okay.
It should not be inconsistent with the act. It should not be inconsistent with the constitution.
Okay.
So
right.
the age of 18 requirement is a must.
Okay.
We cannot say customarily we used to marry marry off daughters at so much age, or be it 12, 13 or whatever.
Okay.
No.
So 18 years.
18 years.
What's the next thing that is required?
The next thing is also the aspect of relationship of the parties.
Okay.
Obviously.
When you say the parties, you're talking about the two individuals.
The two individuals to the marriage.
Okay. The man and the woman.
The man and the woman.
Okay. All right.
Yes. In terms of their custom.
All right.
They must ensure that they are not proscribed or prohibited from entering into the marriage.
Okay.
Because in other customs, even fourth generation cousins are not allowed to marry. In other customs, people of the same totem may not be allowed to marry.
Okay. Yes.
So as long as customarily they are allowed or they are prohibited from marrying, then they ought to follow that particular custom. If an objection is raised on the basis that the intended marriage violates a custom, then that marriage may not go ahead.
Okay.
In terms of this particular act.
So viewers, you're having it. Firstly, it's the age. Now the relationship. Okay.
Yes.
The next one.
The next requirement, obviously, as I indicated earlier on, is that only Africans can enter into this particular marriage, whether they are from within Zimbabwe or from other countries of Africa,
okay,
or our surrounding nations, as long as they qualify to be called maybe native Africans.
Okay.
I don't know. Yes, but
right.
That is another requirement. So the Europeans or Asians or Americans, they cannot then come and purport to marry under the registered customary law marriage. It's not possible.
Can you explain that? What if my son decides to marry an Australian lady? Can he do that under the registered customary law?
No.
So
it has to be general law.
So they will fall under general law.
They fall under general law.
Okay. So it's only for Africans.
It's only for Africans.
Okay.
There's a history to that, but perhaps we are going to talk about that.
You will do that.
No.
Thank you very much for that. I think the viewers would want to know the historicity of it. But for today, viewers, you heard it. He has a lot of things that he wants to talk to us about in terms of the registered customary law. So we have the age, the relationship is for Africans.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, is the aspect of consent.
Okay.
Obviously, it is also a must. There should be free consent by the man or the woman who is entering into this particular marriage. So, if someone is under 18, they cannot consent. Also, it's the woman particularly does not require a guardian for her to enter into this particular marriage. I think, yeah, for a good reason, because our customs also, to some extent, they used to regard women as perpetual minors.
Okay.
Prior to the passing on of legislation which cured this, but we had problems in the past with customary law holding that women are perpetual minors who always need a guardian to act for them. But now, in terms of the law, the woman does not need the consent of a guardian to enter into this particular marriage.
All right.
notwithstanding that it's under customary law, she does not need the consent of a guardian. Here, free and express consent suffices to ensure that the marriage can go ahead.
Okay. And then the
Now,
next.
obviously, you are interested in the aspect of lobola.
Yes, because we talked about we talked about it, and probably some parents are a bit annoyed and angry. Like you said, you apologize that you're going to disappoint them. Yes.
Yes. Yes, in terms of this marriage as well, lobola is not a requirement per se.
Okay.
But the Act recognizes that it may be part of the custom.
Okay.
Consent. And if it is then a part of the custom, it has to be compliant.
All right.
Yes. So if the parties then, or the families then negotiate and agree on that lobola should be paid, then it ought to be paid, and then it becomes a contract which can be enforced.
So you tell them now. Let me just tweak this to a bit. Now, the two parties are there, all right, and then they have to agree to come into the custom. What am I saying is, the parents wants the lobola to be paid to them.
Correct.
So the only channel they can have, they can make a demand on the lobola to be paid is when they are going to, the two parties are going to fall under the Registered Customary Law.
Yes.
If they do it that way, then lobola will be required because it's the custom that requires them to pay lobola to the in-laws.
Yes, provided that the payment of lobola is part of the custom for that particular community.
Okay.
If it is not a part of their custom, the law is not introducing it to say lobola ought to be paid.
So one or the other, the law still respects the customs of a certain community.
That's correct. I cannot put it any better.
While still safeguarding the humanity, if I can say, of the nation.
Exactly.
For example, putting the law of age 18, it's trying to keep in the humanity of the nation intact, while at the same time allowing the customs of a community to take their course.
As long as it doesn't collide.
As long as it doesn't collide.
With the humanity of the nation, with the principles.
Principles of the nation.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, so that's all about in terms of this marriage, in terms of what are the requirements. But obviously, there are also formalities that ought to be followed. And like any other marriage, there are formalities to be complied with. And in this particular instance, there is one or potentially two formalities.
Okay.
The first one is that obviously there should be a notification of intention to marry, which is published at the magistrate's court, the customary law division of the magistrate's court.
So it's not just something that we can do within our community and it's done. That's where the registered comes in.
That's where the registration aspect of it comes in.
Okay.
Yes, that's number one. And number two, what I say potentially is that there may be formalities which ought to be followed prior to the marriage in terms of the laws of the community. And if those formalities are not followed, then the marriage might suffer difficulties. Because obviously, as we are going to explain, when the marriage officer is officializing or solemnizing the marriage, there are about the three issues that he's going to inquire into, whether they have been followed or whether they are not followed.
So can you go through with us the formalities?
Yes, but let me begin with who has to attend, because this is obviously important.
Okay, yes.
Who has who ought to attend the marriage. The parties to the marriage, that is the man and the woman who intend to get married, they ought to be there. Then there ought to be a marriage officer, who is a magistrate of the particular district, or a chief of the area. Now, this is another perhaps positive introduction by the new act to allow chiefs to be marriage officers. Why? It also allows the people to freely access the facilities to enter into this particular marriage, because the chiefs are closer to the people, and also the chiefs are the custodians of the local customs and traditions. So the new act now recognizes them as marriage officers.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So they ought to be a bona fide marriage officer in the form of a chief or in the form of a magistrate. Then number 3, there are 2 witnesses who ought to be present. 1, a relative of the woman, and 2, a relative of the man. And the law requires that these 2 witnesses be relatives under the customary law of the community concerned, and also being primary family witnesses to the marriage.
Okay.
Yes. So, obviously, the question about parents then comes in: are they? Is it mandatory for them to be there to give their consent and the like?
Right. Correct.
Like, yeah. Right. It's not a requirement for parents to be there, and their consent is obviously not required. But obviously, there is a catch to it.
All right.
Obviously, there is a catch to it. If the custom of the people requires them to be notified or to be present, then that has to be followed. But their consent is not a legal requirement, because the parties to the marriage give their own consent. Okay. But obviously, in terms of now introducing the requirement for having the customs followed, then the parents, you cannot avoid them. You cannot avoid dealing with the parents if it is part of the custom.
Okay.
So, in terms of what is expected of the marriage officer, what the marriage officer looks into, number 1, they inquire into whether there is free and full consent by the parties to the marriage.
Okay.
And secondly, the marriage officer also inquire from the witnesses whether the customary law formalities have been met.
Okay.
So, ipapa ndo panogona kunetsa, ndo panogona kutangira nyaya kuti if the witnesses say the formalities have not been followed in respect of one A or B, the marriage might not proceed. And if there is an agreement relating to the payment of lobola, then the marriage officer will also inquire whether that agreement has been followed and whether there is clearance.
So let me interject you a bit. Hold that point.
Yes.
If the witness has got a say in the solemnizing of the marriage, then am I right to think that a witness is not just there to sign where it is needed to be signed, but they are putting maybe their neck under the X? It's not just to write something, but they have put a word for themselves. Because, we just think when it comes to marriage, a witness, you're just there to sign and witness. So my son can just get a friend just to do away with daddy's requirements, and they do it, and my son does not tell, or they just hide that the customary requirements have not been met, and he signs as a witness. Is the witness breaking the law, one or the other? You get what I mean?
Thank you so much. Very important question. Under this particular type of marriage, the witness is not coming just to sign. Number 2, the witness is not coming on his or her own accord.
Okay.
The witness is coming to represent, to speak on behalf of the family, to confirm to the marriage officer,
okay,
that the customary law requirements
have been met. It's not just a witness, just
It's not just a witness, or is not just coming to say, I'm vouching for my friend.
right.
No, no, no. The witness word carries the authority
Of the
of the
family.
family
Okay.
in terms of this process, because there is an inquiry that is done by the marriage officer to say, yes, have the customs been followed?
Okay.
And if the witness misleads the marriage officer, it's an offense which is created. So it's an enormous responsibility that is placed on the shoulders of the witness to this particular union to come and competently and accurately represent the family.
Now, let me take you back to our first segment. There are two witnesses in a marriage that is going to happen, which does not need the consent of the parents.
That's right.
And these witnesses, what are they carrying? We are back to our last segment. The question just popped up to me. What is these two witnesses carrying in the civil, part of the marriage?
In the civil law, these witnesses are carrying their word, or they are carrying what they have perceived by their senses.
Okay.
To say, we confirm that on this particular day, I was present when Mr. X and Miss Y
were joined
together, and they signed
All right.
the marriage certificate in my presence.
Okay.
And they signed also as a testament,
All right.
as a memorial to the proceedings.
We were there. We witnessed
we witnessed
the ceremony.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's all to it.
All right.
But in this particular context now, the witness is not just coming to say we were there when it happened. They are also carrying
the word of the
family, because the marriage officer inquire of them, lady or gentleman,
right?
Did these parties follow the customs of your community? Is your family
all right
in agreement
with these proceedings
to say our customs have been honored?
Okay.
Yes. So I think that can then kind of conflate the issue of the consent and what is expected of the community. Of course, the parties to the marriage have to give their independent consent to the marriage, but also it appears the family also has a role to play, particularly when we are now talking of the need to satisfy the customary law requirements of the community, which the position has to be confirmed by the witnesses.
Okay. So I'd cut you short on your point you're making. You can proceed on that.
Yes, I think we have exhausted this particular point. So the marriage officer must be satisfied that there is no legal impediment to the marriage.
Okay.
Yes, that is the third requirement also.
All right.
Number one, to ensure that the parties have given their consent. Number two, to ensure that the customs of the community has been followed. Number three, to also ensure that there are no any legal impediments to the marriage.
Okay.
So these are the three requirements when the marriage is being solemnized.
Okay.
Yes.
So did we touch on the solemnizing of the marriage?
In part.
In part.
So where does it happen?
Yes, there. Is it mandatory to host a reception for it?
No, it's not. In fact, but what I might indicate is that unlike the general law marriage, where it can happen anyway, maybe in church, whether it's court, in a private home, at a private function, this kind of marriage usually happens at court.
Okay.
Where the magistrate ensures that during the business hours they solemnize the marriage. It can also happen at the chief's court. Okay. Recently, because now the chiefs have been allowed to solemnize the registered customary law marriage in terms of the act. I don't see a situation where the chief is going to come down and go to they say come to my most likely.
Yeah, I have to go to where the chief is.
Yes.
And where he is, that's the court.
Yes.
So who else needs to be there when this kind of customary law marriage is being solemnized?
Those are the people who are required: the witness, the parties to the marriage, and the marriage officer. Of course, other witnesses can be there, but their absence or presence might not affect the proceedings.
Including the parents of the two.
Including the parents of the two. The parents of the two can just be represented by the witnesses.
Okay.
That's a matter of fact.
Wow. Okay, so I think what else is within this customary law?
Yes, the other aspect which is also important is the issuance of the certificate.
Okay.
There is a marriage certificate which is issued, and it's signed by the marriage officer, and it's also entered into the marriage register, and it's then given to the parties, especially the woman.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, what else do we have? We are just running out of time now, and I'm just going to have, if there are no questions that have come to us so far, I'm just going to have Mr. Deme to tell us the rest of the things that are entailed in this customary law, so that we can have something that to say this is it. So the numbers, you may have a question soon after we have closed this session. I'm going to give you the numbers that you can contact us and let us know what you think about our program, the questions that you may be having, or where you do not understand when he was explaining concerning this law. The numbers, I'm going to say them twice or three times so that you can catch them easily. 078 788 5259. That's Zimbabwean number. So let me give you the code one more time. Plus 263 78 788 5259. On those numbers, you can send us an SMS, WhatsApp on those numbers, as well as even call, so that you can give us your questions that you may have, or you can just write the questions on the chat, and then during the course of the week, we'll be able to revisit our discussion and answer your questions that you may be having. And because of that, we want you to be fully informed as to the laws of the nation. So if you happen to listen to our first segment and you have a question, you can still put that question even on this segment so that we can quickly get to the question. We may not have time. The crew may not go back to the first segment because they'll be busy looking at the segment, this one, which we are having today, so that we can be able to answer. So if you happen to listen to the first segment and you have a question from there, just make sure you indicate that the question is from the first segment, so that when we come next Sunday, we'll deal with your question first before we dive into the third segment of our discussion. If it is from this segment, the second segment, then it's all right. You can just write the question. And please, we need also your comments and your contributions to this, so that we can all flow together in these presentations, in these programs. Thank you. Mr. Dene.
Yes, Pastor ID. Thank you. Perhaps the viewers or someone might have a question to say, is it possible, say one is married under the Registered Customary Law marriage, to convert their marriage into a civil law? Maybe they have a change of heart to say, look, why can't we just be into a civil law marriage where we are certain that is no one knocking on the door, so to speak,
Yes.
to try and come into the marriage? Is it possible? Yes, the answer to that is it may be possible, or it may not be possible.
Okay.
And let me explain. If the husband does not have other wives, remember we said this marriage is potentially polygamous.
It has the potential to be a polygamous marriage.
Yes, but if the polygamous aspect has not yet come into effect, which means there's no number two,
okay,
then it's very permissible in terms of our law for the parties to then proceed to convert their marriage into a civil law marriage, okay, and register it under general law, and to be married under the general law.
Okay.
Yes, they become married under the civil law, which is one man, one woman.
Okay.
Yes, but if there are already other wives to the marriage, then it's no longer possible to convert this particular marriage into a general law marriage.
Okay.
Because the law clearly prohibits that no one can be married under both general law and customary law.
Okay.
Yes. And this is for a good reason. We have encountered quite a number of cases whereby someone is married to 2-3 wives, and then don't know what happens along the way when someone now sees that they perhaps are about to die or for one reason or another. They decide to go and convert with one woman into their marriage into a civil law.
Okay.
Maybe it's wife number 2. She's now married under civil law. But the first wife is still there. The second wife is still there. But now she is under civil law. The law used to accept that, and when it comes to inheritance, they will also be ranked as equal marriages. But it used to create a number of difficulties, a number of challenges. Okay. So now the law has just come out to say once there are more than one wife to the marriage, you can no longer convert that marriage into a civil law marriage. In other words, you remain under the registered customary law marriage.
Okay.
But as long as you have not yet become polygamous, then you can still convert your marriage into a civil law marriage.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that I thought it is important for me to make that point.
Okay. Yes. Yes. It is.
It's very important.
Right, viewers. There you have it, Mr. Deme. Any words before we close?
The only way that I can say is that would love to hear from the viewers what particular aspects they would also want us to canvass and touch on. But definitely we are going to be looking at very interesting marriages in next segment. We are going to try to canvass the aspect of the unregistered customary law union and also the civil partnerships. Civil partnerships are a recent introduction into our marriage laws. What do they entail? What is it? What are the challenges that the civil law unions intend to deal with and address?
Okay.
So we are going to touch on those, and after we are done with defining all these aspects of marriage, we are then going to look into the aspects of the rights of the parties to each particular marriage and the implications in terms of the property rights of the parties on inheritance and all those other things.
Well, viewers, there you have it. I'm just curious, wish I could speed up the days to hear about these partnerships, because having lived in Australia for 5 years, I do not need to preempt this, but having lived in Australia for 5 years as a missionary there, I was surprised at first, getting there and you see probably this man is in his 50s, 60s, and he's walking with his, as I thought, wife. As you discuss with them, you hear them saying, my partner. My partner. And you'll be surprised after 40 years of living together, they say, we are going to get married. And then there are more partnerships than marriages. And I believe, Mr. Deme, you have to help us, because one woman was asked, she spoke to this lady and said, she told him, we have been married for 18 years. And this other lady said, 18 years? How can you live with the same person for 18 years? And she asked him, so who do you live with? He said, no, I live with my partner. So I think after these segments, viewers will also try by all means to bring a marriage counselor, so that probably if there are those who wonder, how can you live for 18 years with one person?
With one person.
How can you do it? So we, after finishing all the segments with Advocate Deme here in terms of the marriage and the law of our nation, we'll definitely bring you one to make sure that you don't jump the ship thinking it's difficult. It is doable. You can live in a marriage and happily thereafter. So, Advocate Deme, thank you very much for making that time. We know you're a very busy man. You have got some cases to look into, but thank you very much for your time of coming to our channel, Edka channel, on this Facebook channel and also on our YouTube channel. Viewers, I want to encourage you, subscribe to our channel so that you can be notified, and click the notification button so that you can be notified whenever we come again on air. This will definitely help you. And if you happen to be having friends that you think they need to know this, I know this subject, everyone needs to know, be it a young person not married and those who are already married. You need to know what you are in and what you're getting into. So tell your friend, share our page to your friends, share our segments to your friends, your relatives, and everybody else around you, so that they can understand what the law of the nation is, and what is the civil marriage, what is the customary marriage, and all those marriages that are going to come, and the partnerships as well. And to those who don't want to pay lobola, those who don't want to be responsible, let me just say it that way. I'm not so sure which one will you choose, but I know everybody's a responsible person. I'm just saying this as a way of closing. From Advocate Deme and me, Edward here, and the crew behind the scenes, want to say thank you very much for joining in here at Edgar Channel, where we say we give you the quality you can feel. Catch us again. Join us next week on the same time on Sunday on this very channel. God bless you. Have a blessed week and enjoy your family and your marriage. Thank you very much.